Here is a clean, emotional, romantic 1,000-word expansion of Part 1. No explicit content. Simple English, fast-paced. Suitable for YouTube, monetization. Part 1. The Late Night Confession, 1,000 words. Evan Parker never planned to fall for anyone other than his wife. For most of his life, he believed in simple things: love, marriage, loyalty, and keeping his promises. He and Claire had been married for 7 years, and everyone who knew them thought they were the perfect couple. But sometimes, life changes quietly, without loud warnings. Sometimes love fades, not because anyone stops caring, but because two people stop talking, stop listening, and stop noticing each other. That is how Evan's marriage slowly turned into something cold and silent. Like a house with lights on, but nobody home. Evan worked as a project manager in a marketing company in Seattle. Long days, deadlines, meetings, and constant pressure became his routine. His relationship with Claire became another routine too. They still lived together, ate breakfast together, and shared the same bed. But their hearts felt distant. There were no fights, no dramatic arguments, just silence. Claire worked late at the hospital as a nurse, and Evan spent most nights alone. Their smiles were polite, their conversations short, and their connections slowly disappeared. Then Anna Collins joined the office. She was new, friendly, and soft-spoken. She didn't try to stand out. She wasn't loud or dramatic. She was simply warm in a world that felt cold. Whenever she spoke, people listened because her voice carried calmness. She worked with Evan on a large client campaign, and at first, everything was professional. But small moments started adding up. A laugh at the coffee machine, a shared joke during a stressful meeting, a conversation that went a little longer than it should have. Evan noticed how she remembered small things about him's favorite tea, the kind of music he listened to, how he tapped his pen when he was nervous. Anna noticed how he tried to hide his loneliness. One rainy Friday evening, the office was almost empty. Most employees rushed home before the storm, but Evan and Anna stayed to finish an important presentation. Thunder rolled over the city, and the wind pushed rain hard against the windows. The building felt quiet and isolated, like the world outside had disappeared. Evan focused on his laptop, but his mind kept drifting to the way Anna's hair fell over her shoulder, and how she hummed softly while working. When the lights flickered from the storm, Anna looked up and laughed lightly. "If the power goes out, we're trapped here," she said. Evan smiled for the first time that day. "At least we'd have snacks from the vending machine." They both laughed, but the truth sat between them. They enjoyed being near each other more than they should. Hours passed. The project was almost done. The office lights were dim, the hallways silent, and the only sound was rain. Evan leaned back in his chair, exhausted. Anna closed her laptop and looked at him carefully, as if debating whether to speak. Her eyes showed something honest, something she had been holding in. "Can I ask you something?" she said softly. "Of course," Evan replied, though his heart tightened. "Why do you talk to me like I matter to you?" The question hit him harder than anything he expected. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He felt like someone finally saw him not as a worker, not as a husband, not as a quiet man fading into routine, but as a person with feelings, Anna continued. But her voice didn't sound confident anymore. "I don't want to make things strange. I notice things. You look at me like you're hiding something." Evan swallowed hard. He wanted to deny it, to laugh it off, to pretend nothing was happening. But he was tired of pretending. "I'm married," he said quietly. His voice almost cracked. "And I don't want to hurt anyone." Anna lowered her eyes. She didn't cry and she didn't look disappointed. She just nodded, accepting the truth with maturity. "I know," she said. "I'm not asking for anything. I just needed to hear you say it." Evan leaned forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor. "My marriage. It hasn't been the same for a long time. Claire and I barely talk. We wake up, go to work, come home, sleep, repeat. It feels like I live with a stranger." Anna listened without interrupting. She didn't try to comfort him, didn't touch him, didn't make promises. She simply listened. And for Evan, that was more attention than he had received in months. "I like talking to you," Evan admitted. "You make me feel seen." Anna smiled sadly. "You make me feel seen too." The room grew quiet again. Not uncomfortable, just full of emotions that had no easy place to go. There was no dramatic music, no romantic movie moment. Just two tired people confessing feelings they never planned to have. Then the elevator dinged. Footsteps echoed through the hallway. Evan froze. Anna looked toward the door. No one should have been there that late, not on a stormy night. Not in an empty building. The office door opened slowly. Claire Parker stepped inside. Her hair was wet from the rain. Her coat was unzipped. She looked exhausted, not from chasing anyone, but from something deeper, like a woman who finally reached the moment she had been avoiding. Evan stood up quickly. "Claire, what are you doing here?" Claire didn't yell. She didn't accuse anyone. She didn't look angry. In fact, she looked painfully calm. "I tried calling," she said, her voice steady. "You didn't answer. I figured you were still at work." Her eyes moved to Anna, who sat still, unsure whether to speak or leave. Claire took a slow breath. "I know about you too." The words hit like lightning. Anna's eyes widened. Evan felt his chest tighten. But Claire didn't shout. She didn't cry. She simply continued in a quiet, controlled voice. "I've known for weeks." Evan tried to speak, but Claire raised her hand lightly, asking for silence. "I didn't come here to make a scene," she said. "I came because I think all three of us need to talk." Thunder cracked outside, but inside the room, everything fell silent. Anna didn't look away. Evan didn't run. Claire didn't break. And in that heavy, quiet moment, no one knew what would happen next. The confrontation had begun, but nothing about it felt predictable. To be continued. Clean, emotional, and dramatic. Mature but safe. No explicit content. Suitable for YouTube monetization and storytelling channels. If you'd like, I can now write part 2 in 1,000 words, the same style, fast pace. Emotional, no repetition, romantic tension. Dramatic but YouTube-safe. Should I continue with part 2? Here is part 2 in approximately 1,000 words. Simple English, emotional, dramatic, fast-paced, nitrogen monoxide, explicit content. 100% suitable for YouTube monetization. Part 2. The truth no one expected. 1,000 words. The room felt colder after Claire entered, as if the storm outside had slipped through the walls. Evan stood frozen, unsure if he should step toward his wife or stay where he was. Anna sat still in her chair, hands clasped tightly, her face pale and afraid of what would happen next. Claire did not yell, did not cry, did not break anything. She just stared at both of them with eyes full of quiet hurt. "I know about you too," she repeated, her voice calm but trembling underneath. "I've known for weeks." Evan opened his mouth, desperate to explain, but words refused to come out. Claire shook her head slightly, letting him know she didn't want excuses or lies. She pulled out a chair and sat at the same table as if this were a normal conversation in a normal place. But it wasn't. It was the moment everything changed. "I didn't drive here to blame anyone," she said. "I came because I'm tired of pretending nothing is wrong." The lights flickered again. Rain hammered the windows. The storm outside almost matched the storm inside Evan's chest. Anna's voice was barely a whisper. "Claire, I never wanted to hurt you." "Believe you," Claire said without hesitation. "You didn't come into our marriage. Our marriage was already falling apart, and Evan didn't tell me." Evan finally spoke. "Claire, I'm sorry. I never planned." "I know," she interrupted. "No one plans these things." Claire wasn't cold, but she wasn't soft either. She spoke with sadness, not anger, and that somehow hurt even more. She kept her eyes on Evan. Double quotes. "Do you know when I realized something changed?" she asked quietly. "It wasn't when you came home late. It wasn't when you stopped touching me or talking to me. It was when you started smiling at your phone again." Evan looked down at the floor. He felt ashamed. Not because he cheated, he never crossed that line, but because he betrayed the emotional space that once belonged only to Claire. She turned to Anna. He used to smile like that at home. He used to look at me with that softness. So when he stopped, I thought something was wrong with me. Anna shook her head, tears in her eyes. No, you're not the reason. I know that now, Claire said. But at the time, I felt invisible. Evan finally sat down, feeling exhausted and exposed. We've been distant for so long, Claire. We barely talk. We move around each other like strangers. And I didn't know how to fix it. And instead of trying, Claire replied gently, "You found someone who listened." Anna lowered her eyes. She didn't speak again. She didn't defend herself. She didn't apologize repeatedly. She simply sat with the truth, accepting whatever came next. For a long moment, no one spoke. The storm filled the silence with wind and thunder. Claire folded her hands on the table, breathing slowly. Like someone gathering strength. "I didn't come here because I'm angry," she said. "I came because something happened tonight. Something I didn't expect." She looked toward the hallway. Michael. A man stepped into the room, tall and calm with thoughtful eyes. He wasn't dramatic or intense. He looked like someone who had been waiting patiently for the right moment to appear. Anna blinked in confusion. Evan turned sharply to his wife. Michael walked in slowly, standing beside Claire but not touching her. His presence filled the room with more questions. "Who is he?" Evan asked, voice unsteady. Claire took a breath. Her hands were shaking. "This is Michael," she said. "We've been talking for a while." The air became heavy. Evan felt like the ground moved beneath him. He expected Claire to walk in, angry, betrayed, devastated. He never imagined she had a secret of her own. Evan's voice cracked. "Talking? What does that mean?" Claire didn't look away. "It means I was lonely too." Anna closed her eyes. She suddenly understood everything. This wasn't a story about one person hurting another. This was a story about two people who had stopped seeing each other a long time ago. "I'm not blaming you," Claire continued. "You're not a bad person, Evan. I just needed someone to feel close to again. Someone who asked if I was okay. Someone who noticed when I was tired or quiet." Michael did. Michael spoke for the first time, soft and respectful. "I didn't know she was married when we met. When I found out, I told her we should step back. But she was falling apart. She didn't need romance. She needed someone to listen." Evan stared at his wife. "Why didn't you tell me you were unhappy?" "Because you seemed happier without me," she whispered. "You came home tired. You didn't look at me. You didn't talk about your day. When I asked if something was wrong, you said you were fine. I thought you were done with us." A single tear slipped down Claire's cheek, but she wiped it quickly, refusing to cry in front of them. "I know you didn't cheat physically," she said to Evan, "but your heart wasn't mine anymore. And that hurt more than anything." Evan's voice went soft. "Claire, I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to reach you. I didn't know how to reach you," she replied. The truth settled heavily in the room. None of them were villains. None of them wanted to hurt someone else. They were simply for people standing inside a moment they never expected, a moment where secrets were no longer secrets. Anna finally stood. Her voice was steady, though her heart was shaking. "Whatever happens next, I want you both to make the choice that feels right. If you can fix your marriage, you should. If you can't, then be honest about it. But don't make decisions just because of me." Claire nodded, grateful for the maturity in those words. Michael glanced at the door, giving Claire space to choose what she wanted. Evan leaned forward. "Claire, what do you want?" Claire looked at him with tired, honest eyes. "I want the truth," she said. "Do you want our marriage because you love me, or because you're afraid of ending it?" Evan didn't speak right away. He looked at Anna, the woman who made him feel alive again. Then he looked at Claire, the woman who had stood by his side for years. Even when the love felt quiet, the storm outside began to fade. The thunder softer, the rain lighter, as if the world was listening and waiting for an answer. But before Evan could speak, Claire whispered the words that would change everything. I'm willing to fix us. But only if you want the marriage too. If your heart belongs somewhere else, I won't force you to stay. The room fell silent again. Anna watched with a calm sadness. Michael stepped back, letting Claire and Evan stand alone with the decision. No yelling, no chaos, just truth. And the night was not over yet. To be continued. No explicit content. Emotional, romantic, dramatic, YouTube safe, fast-paced, original. Cleanwood, you like part 3 in 1,000 words the same way? Here is part 3 in approximately 1,000 words. Fast-paced, emotional, clean, YouTube safe, simple English. Fully following your requirements. Part 3. The decision, 1,000 words. The rain had stopped, leaving only soft drops on the windows. Outside, the streets glistened in the pale city lights, but inside the office, time felt suspended. Evan, Claire, Anna, and Michael remained in the quiet room, each lost in thought. The storm outside had passed, but the storm of emotions inside had only begun to settle. It was a moment where everything that had been hidden, loneliness, longing, fear, and heartbreak was finally out in the open. Evan could hardly look at Claire. He felt guilty, ashamed, and yet alive in a way he hadn't felt in months. He had been on autopilot in his marriage, surviving but not living, missing the warmth of connection. Anna had reminded him what it felt like to be noticed, to be appreciated. But now Claire was here, standing as the woman he had promised to love and protect. And for the first time in a long while, he realized what he had been missing: attention, honesty, and care from the person he had chosen as a life partner, Claire. Despite her calm exterior carried a mixture of hurt and hope. She had discovered that Evan's heart had wandered emotionally, but she hadn't reacted with anger. She had chosen something harder: clarity. She had also found someone who listened to her, someone who saw her when she felt invisible. Michael was standing quietly beside her, giving her the space she needed to make decisions. He was patient, kind, and completely unintrusive. Michael's presence made the room feel safer somehow. It's like a bridge between past mistakes and future possibilities, Anna. On the other hand, felt the bittersweet pull of unspoken emotions. She had grown close to Evan in ways that were more than friendly, but she never crossed boundaries. Now she watched the reunion of husband and wife with an ache in her heart. A quiet understanding that love could be complicated, painful, and still hopeful. Her role was clear. She had been a mirror, reflecting emotions that needed to be seen. But she wasn't meant to be a permanent part of this triangle. Evan finally broke the silence. Claire, I've been so lost, he admitted, his voice shaking slightly. I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't realize how far away I had drifted. Anna reminded me what it felt like to be alive. But that doesn't mean I stopped loving you. Claire studied him, her eyes softening. Evan, you weren't the only one drifting. I felt invisible. I wasn't angry at you. I was lonely. And when Michael came into my life, I realized I could feel seen again. But it wasn't about replacing anyone. It was about remembering how it feels to be noticed. Michael nodded quietly. She needed to feel safe to open up. I just listened. I didn't want to interfere or create conflict. That was her choice. Evan's chest tightened. I understand now. I see what I've neglected, what I've ignored. I want to fix this, Claire. I want us back, but not the same. I want something better, stronger, honest. Claire's lips curved into a small, cautious smile. I've been waiting to hear that. I've been waiting for honesty. And now, I can choose whether we try again. But you must know, it won't be easy. We have to rebuild trust, attention, and intimacy. Not just the surface kind, but the deep emotional kind. Anna's eyes glistened with tears. She took a deep breath and said softly, Evan, Claire, I think you can do this. You both love each other, even if you've lost your way. But remember, love isn't perfect. It's patient, forgiving, and willing to start over every day. Evan reached for Claire's hand, feeling the warmth he hadn't felt in months. I want to try. I want us to talk, laugh, and share our lives like we used to. I don't want to repeat mistakes. I want to be present, fully present this time. Claire squeezed his hand. Then we begin tonight. Not by forgetting what happened, but by accepting it. By choosing to move forward together. Michael stepped back slightly. I think my part here is done, he said softly. You have each other. I was here to help you see what was missing, to remind you both that honesty matters. I hope you can rebuild what's important. Anna smiled faintly, almost sadly. Sometimes the most meaningful connections are the ones that teach us about ourselves. Even if we aren't part of the final story, you two have a chance to make it work. Don't waste it. Evan looked at both women. Anna's presence had reminded him of the excitement of being seen. But Claire was the one who had stood by him through years of shared life, shared struggles, and shared dreams. He realized that while connections with others could spark feelings, only the bonds built over time, care, and shared history could sustain a marriage. Claire leaned closer. We have to talk every day. No secrets. No hiding feelings. We need to communicate even when it's hard. We need to remember why we chose each other in the first place. Evan nodded, a sense of relief and hope washing over him. I'm ready for that. I don't want to go through life half present, half living. I want us fully alive together. The rain outside had stopped completely. The streets reflected the soft city lights, and the air smelled fresh, like a clean start. Inside there was no drama, no shouting, no blame. Just truth. Just people acknowledging mistakes, loneliness, and heartbreak in choosing to move forward with intention. Claire turned to Michael and said quietly, Thank you for being there when I needed someone to listen. I needed that clarity. I needed to remember what it feels like to be seen. Michael smiled gently. That's all I could do. Take care of each other. Be honest. Anna stood, her heart heavy but peaceful. I'll leave you two now. You have a story to rewrite together. Just remember, love takes work, courage, and honesty. Don't waste it. Evan and Claire watched as both Michael and Anna walked toward the door. They were leaving, but not with sadness, only with the knowledge that they had helped, taught, and inspired. The quiet room felt lighter, filled with possibility. Evan turned to Claire, voice soft but certain. We start now. Right here. Right tonight. Not by pretending nothing happened, but by being honest, present, and caring. We can do this. Claire's hand tightened around his. We can, and we will, together. For the first time in a long time, the room felt warm. Not because of the lights or the rain stopping, but because honesty and connection had returned. Love was not perfect, but it was alive. It was patient, forgiving, and ready to be rebuilt. Evan and Claire left the office together. The streets reflected the wet pavement, the soft city lights, and the fresh smell of rain. They walked side by side, hands brushing and fingers intertwining, feeling hope that had been lost but now returned. They didn't speak much at first, but words weren't needed. Their hearts understood each other. The night was calm, quiet, and full of potential. No one knew what challenges awaited them, but they knew one thing. They had chosen each other again, not for comfort, not for routine, but for love, honesty, and the courage to start over. Sometimes love is messy. Sometimes it drifts and falters. But when it is nurtured, noticed, and fought for, it can survive storms, silence, and distance. Evan and Claire had learned that lesson tonight, and they were willing to try again. The story didn't end with perfection. It ended with hope, with honesty, with two people choosing to reconnect, rebuild, and rediscover each other in a world that often feels chaotic and lonely. And as the city slept beneath the stars, Evan and Claire's hands intertwined, their hearts beating with a renewed sense of love, commitment, and understanding. For the first time in a long time, they felt seen, heard, and alive again. The night was over, but their journey together had just begun. Emotional, dramatic, and romantic, mature, clean, and gentle adult themes, no explicit content or harmful material. Simple English, fast-paced, easy to follow. YouTube monetization safe and suitable for storytelling if you want. I can now create 5 YouTube-optimized titles for this story. 5 thumbnail text ideas, image prompts for visual storytelling. Do you want me to do that next?